Hi, this is Abul Hussain coming to you direct from London, the United Kingdom, and welcome to another episode of the SMMA Mastermind podcast, where we talk about how you can start or scale a digital marketing, a social media marketing agency, and we also bring on subject matter experts who help upskill us so that we can deliver better results for our clients. Now, if you are watching this episode outside of our Facebook group, make sure to find the link above or below this video, or go to smmamastermind.com, especially if you want to join a community of 2,500 like-minded individuals. Now, with that out of the way, I have a very special guest joining me all the way from Florida, and we are going to talk about building a personal brand. Michelle Griffin, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you for staying up and talking to me all the way here in Florida.
Thank you very much for joining me. Now, for the people who might not know who you are, how about a little bit of an introduction?
Wonderful. Yes. Well, I'm a personal brand and marketing strategist, work primarily with consultants, entrepreneurs in the professional services space, also thought leaders, authors, speakers, everyone who needs to bring their personal brand, their mission, their message, and help them market and bring visibility to it. So that's what I do. I mix a little bit of branding, marketing, and visibility PR to help these amazing people bring their mission to the world.
That's awesome. Now, I'm going to ask you quite a naive question, which is what a lot of people might be thinking. What's the difference between a business brand and a personal brand? How do they differ, I suppose?
Yeah, well, a personal brand is not the, influencer type. For me, it's tied to ROI, right? It is you. The product is you, but not as in a look at me, I'm so great. It's the product of you that's completely, just like a company would do their brand. You've got your vision, your foundational stuff, so you can be in service to others. You're just the product to help others. Just like as a company has a product or service to help others, you are that. And as a company brand, it's just, that was what it is. It's a company, but you're the face of your business. It's your competitive advantage. A personal brand is just your reputation, online and offline. And you should be the both, right? Authentic personal branding are people who are both. And that's what I help people do. Bring that to and tie it to ROI, and mine's more in the thought leadership space, not just influencer, thought leadership tied to monetizing it.
Right. So obviously, when we think of a company brand, we'll think about a logo and colors and, some other visual aspects or a strap line.
Mm-hmm.
When someone thinks of a personal brand, what comes to mind, I suppose?
Well, I talk a lot about that on my LinkedIn. I do daily LinkedIn tips on personal branding, and I've done a lot of recent content on that, the myths of personal branding and what really is a personal branding. Because if you follow, what's so interesting to me, if you follow the hashtags personal branding on Instagram and you follow the personal branding hashtags, which there's 25 million followers, I believe, on LinkedIn, it's
Oh,
two
wow.
different stories. Yeah. On LinkedIn, it's, you'll see thought leadership and, tying it to the company or someone being the face of the brand to become that thought leader. And that in itself is a cliche too, but I'm talking about someone who brings their expertise and brands themselves to be in service to others, to solve that problem, But in the Instagram space, I don't want people to think it's not just taking a selfie and saying it's personal branding. That's not what we do here. We are
Right.
tying who you are to solve a problem for others. And you need to do that to have that competitive advantage, right? To show up and cut through the noise. And then I tie it to, I'm also a StoryBrand certified guide. So I marry that storytelling in it too. So that's how I work in making sure we have authentic personal brands. And that's what I'm here to do.
Right. Okay. So how does, I suppose, one go and create an effective personal brand? What are the steps, I suppose?
Yeah, no, that's a very good question. A lot of people think I'll just show up and put a logo up and take a bunch of pictures of me and that's my personal brand. Well, your personal brand, just like, would you just throw a picture, like a product out there without defining, the core mission and, getting all the foundational stuff. So when I work with my clients, we start internally. Like, why am I doing this? Who do I want to be known for? A lot of people come to me like, I have too many ideas. And so when they're ready to take either entrepreneurs, I've worked with a lot of entrepreneurs, I've left corporate, want to take, been working years in a professional services, like a lawyer, finance, real estate, whatever, take that and bring it to help be a consultant. We have to know exactly what they're going to stand for and get super focused. So I work on their mission, their vision, their why. We get all that really dialed in. And then we start working on their branding as far as like, what problem do they solve? Because the fastest way to get known is to be known for that one person, that one thing to help people. So we work on the problem they solve, their mission, their brand positioning statement, and what makes them different, right? Because you cannot just, there's millions of us doing the same thing, right? That's why personal branding is so important. It's not about me, it's about my uncopyable advantage, competitive advantage by being me with my different perspectives, beliefs, experience. There's no one who can replicate that. And then we also have a personal brand story, which is usually tied to a why. And then we get into dialing all that in, and then we talk about the externals. We get really crystal clear on the person you solve and get all their pain points. So we get all that dialed in. We work on the story aspects of that, and we dive into marketing and the visibility. And it's a constant. So my 4-step process is we first purpose you out, like your purpose and all that. Then we work on your positioning, get you all positioned out. Then we package you up with a, website, marketing aspects, email's big, social media. And then we work on your publishing, which is your content strategy. But content is the fuel for all that, right? And then we work on your promotion, which is your visibility, getting you out there consistently. So that's how I break it down in an over 30,000 foot view. So.
Right. Okay. No, that's a great kind of outline, I suppose. Now, for a lot of people who might be starting from scratch, because if you have been, say, for example, in professional services and you've been a lawyer for a couple of years, and you might have some great case studies and testimonials, and you can take that, package that, help that to kind of, I suppose, bolster your branding, to build your trust and your credibility or something like that. For someone who's starting from scratch, what's the best way for them to actually start being viewed as an authority in their field?
No, it's a great question. First, decide how you're going to, what do you want to be known for? Do you want to be, the real estate agent? But we'll find a way to spin that, the real estate agent for, new military families or something like that. You need to decide what are you going to do? You can't just be a doctor. So we niche you down as far as the problem you solve. So you get known for that one thing. So it's positioning. It's all about how are you going to show up in the market so you can cut through that noise and rise above it, right? So I would work with you to decide, get really crystal clear. Now, I also have people come to me and say, I have worked in XYZ industry for so many years and I don't want to do it anymore. And so that could be a challenge. Like, how do you position that experience you've been doing for so long into something new? So we work hard on just finding exactly what it is, but it has to be something you really have experience in, because like, I can't decide, I'm really tired of doing marketing. I want to be a doctor or something, right? It has to be a credible thing, but there is a way to spin it as long as you can start becoming the thought leader by putting out valuable content, make sure you're positioned. So I would get you into, starting putting out content and start connecting with people, showing your thought leadership. That's probably the best way to do it. And the best way to do it is LinkedIn. That's where I'm really active. That's where you and I met, right?
Yeah, of course.
For our space, I have met so many people doing that. And you could start small by just getting into commenting and then working on your content. And we drive you into like content on the one thing you solve for. That's probably the fastest way to do it. It's hard just putting yourself out there,
Right. And I mean, even looking at LinkedIn, there's quite a few different things that you could do. You could write a post, or I can write an article within LinkedIn, or link out to a blog. What do you find, I mean, tactics wise, what is the most effective in terms of getting your content out there? Because there's a lot of people who are on LinkedIn, but they don't browse it like they do with Facebook, for example. So they're not absorbing the content there, whereas there are people who are building their own real estate, if you like, on the LinkedIn home feed.
Well, LinkedIn is important to have, of course, if you're going to want to start showing up. But that's where your audience is. I mean, obviously, it has to match where your audience is and where you like to be, right? So obviously, having a profile, that's like your homepage, your web page, like that's your identifying there. It's your home turf, so to speak. So we'd make sure that you have a really good profile that's completely dialed in to be found, to be interesting, and to be I have 3 things: that be interesting, to be found, and be searched, and intriguing. So people want to take that next step with you. And so I would help you do the headlines. I work in personal branding. I have something called LinkedIn Visible. So it's like a one-on-one, like hour and a half. We work together talking about your goals and vision, what you want to do. And then we work on your headline and then your about summary. And then the most important thing is once you get your profile all dialed in, you can't just sit there and go, I'm ready. You've got to start getting out there, right? So for those that are getting really scared to be out there, and believe me, there are, we start with commenting. I'm like, let's get your feet wet by going to all these different, we have a commenting strategy, right? And then we work on their content strategy. And like you said, there's many different ways we can do it. It doesn't all have to be written, right? You can mix it up. So that's the best way to do it. And then also another, and I tie it to like, have you been on Clubhouse? What are your thoughts on
I'm an
Clubhouse?
Android user, so I'm out of the cold for the time being.
Sorry. The good news is I hear they're working on one. So, and at the moment. And so I think they're taking too long personally to get out there to get an Android version, if you ask me. So hopefully we'll see one soon.
Yeah.
But I have been on Clubhouse since, December, and I've been, I host a weekly personal branding show every Wednesday. And that has been real successful in tying back to LinkedIn and meeting new people. So I would say 2 channels that you really want to hone in on and getting to, a credible personal brand and thought leader there.
Right. Okay. And how important is having video content to the whole mix? Can you get by just writing articles and posts on the platform, or do you need to actually get on camera like here? And
I think it's important to do both, right? I mean, you do a mixture of both, right? I've seen you do both. Yeah. And I say, now here's the thing. If people are scared to step out, getting in video has got to be the worst thing for some people. And so I would say first get really comfortable just stepping out, right? We don't want to make this we don't want to make this the worst, you got to do it, but you dread every second of it. So I try to make it really fun. And one of the things I did this year is start the 365 challenge on January 1st. And I just did it with a friend, and it just kind of blossomed. About 250 of us in this group where we all just decided we're going to be consistent action takers, right?
Right.
And so for me, who wasn't very consistent, even though I tell people to do it, I just said, I'm going all in. So once you get out of your comfort zone, that's where the growth happens. That's where the confidence happens. So get real comfortable being on the platform. You'll realize it's a very friendly, supportive place. But then try to do video at least once a week. Just that way, 10x is people get to know and like you better, right?
Now,
So
I suppose that a lot of people, they're scared of selling, especially when they're trying to put content out there. They don't want to be seen as being fake, I suppose, by people, where they're just publishing stuff because the ulterior motive is to sell. How does one use their personal brand to, I suppose, sell without selling hard, or being seen as this LinkedIn spammer?
Yeah, well, first of all, don't be a spammer, right? Like it's all about the first connection when you meet people. Just start that conversation. If you're providing valuable content to people, they are going to see you as someone that's helpful. And so you were exactly selling yourself by giving value, giving educational tips. So you don't have to do the hard sell. But the funny thing, you should ask that. In yesterday's personal branding clubhouse, we had actually a LinkedIn coach, 𝗕𝗂𝗶𝗲 from London. I don't know if you know her, but she's for women. She primarily helps women entrepreneurs. Right. She actually has a book that I read in the fall that came out. It's LinkedIn Visible, I think. But anyway, her 3P pillar, I did a video on, and people really resonated with it. It's the 3 ways, and I'm just sharing this story or her framework because it's really helpful. And it talks about promotional. So you should bucket your content in 3 pillars. First, it's called 3 Ps. The first should be very professional, right? You need to talk about the problem you solve for the people you help. No doubt about it. That's the fastest way. The second one, you should be personable, right? The humanism, the human side of you, what makes you real, make it like stories and stuff like that. That's going to really help you. Right. And the third one, we can't forget to sell. And when I say sell, I mean solving and serving. So that's your promotional. So you've got professional, you've got personable, and you've got promotional, because that's the nature of LinkedIn, right? We're here to do business. Absolutely. So yeah, so I would keep it an 80-20 split. I would keep the promotional about 20% of the time though, but make the ask, if it's, sign up for my email list, listen to my download, talk about your offer. But if you put it in context of helping others, I think you selling yourself that way without being sleazy.
Right. And I'm sure you've seen a lot of people that try to go out and build their own personal brands themselves by reading some books or watching some YouTube videos or something like that. What are some of the common mistakes that you see people, entrepreneurs, agency owners, business people make?
Well, first of all, they just say I'm going to have a personal brand and they really don't even know what that means. It's getting you completely dialed in who you are as a person so you could be in service to others. It's not just saying I'm a personal brand. I mean, sometimes I've read just about all those personal branding books on LinkedIn. I'm sorry, on Amazon.
Hmm.
And some of them are really good. I mean, I'm not knocking them, but some just open up. It's like how you should dress. And I mean, yeah, that might be a small part of it, but that's not how we lead. It's not
No.
about your picture or how you should dress. I mean, it's the product of you as a person who help others, with your expertise. So the common mistake, people don't pick a lane. They try to do too many things, or
Right.
they don't have a real defined message. So no one knows who they really are, what they're really trying to do. Or they may talk about themselves. Have we all been on websites of personal brands and it's all about them? And this is where the story brand always of me comes in. If you're familiar with Donald Miller and story
Oh, yeah.
brand, the customer is a hero, you're not. And anyway, so I think that's another thing, or, they're just all over the place, or their marketing is just not solving the exact problem. So there's many things, but at the end of the day, it really comes out to the message they're bringing out to the world. If you
Right.
can get that message dialed in, then your marketing is going to be, it's going to be a lot easier and cheaper, right?
Mhm.
So.
No, absolutely. Now, if someone wanted to kind of do a bit of an audit on their existing personal brand, where should they go and look at for finding issues to fix, I suppose?
Yeah, no. Well, first of all, the best thing to do is like, let's Google my name. Where do I come up at all? Like, okay. So one of the interesting things is your link, Google and LinkedIn are like that, and
Mm.
surprisingly, Microsoft and Google. But if you Google yourself, your LinkedIn profile, if you have one, usually comes in the top three. So you want to make sure that's pretty dialed in. But go ahead and just first see what's out there. See how you're showing up. You'd be surprised what pulls up. Then you want to make sure you're completely dialed in. Now, everything online is going to pull up. So that's going to give you a cue of where things may be amiss. You want to make sure you're completely branded exactly the same way across the line. So if you have an old directory here and there, all that, you want to completely, whatever you're doing now, dial that in really right. I highly recommend people not just have social media platforms, but in today's day and age, there are sites now where you can get at one of them, 𝗕𝗑𝗏.co, card.co. Someone just told me about this a couple of weeks or a couple of days ago. There's this a site where you can do this amazing, I think it's even free or very low cost landing page website that has your domain and everything. And it's very brilliant. So the technology is getting better and better. So I think everyone should have their own real estate, their own space, right? You don't have to spend a lot of money just to get
Mm.
started, but you should claim your space in the internet, and it shouldn't always be social media, right?
Okay.
So yeah, so I think that's the first place to start.
Yeah.
Claim your space and make sure wherever else you're represented is at least matching to what you
Right.
do.
And in terms of platforms, obviously you've mentioned LinkedIn as being the best B2B platform, I suppose. Is there any efficacy in kind of doing the same thing on Facebook and Instagram, or would someone be spreading themselves too thin?
Well, it'll of course be where your avatar, I mean, your ideal client, lands and goes. I think we should all go at some point and claim our names for every platform, even
Mhm.
if you don't ever think you'll use it. It's almost like, I was so excited when Clubhouse started. I got Michelle Griffin, right? That was huge for me because I don't think I have Michelle B. Griffin for everything else.
Right.
But anyway, go claim your name. It's the internet land, and we just can't get that over and over again. So it is good, I think, to some point, like Clubhouse, for example, if you're on it, there's direct links to Twitter and Instagram. But I've never used Twitter, and Instagram here and there. So I think it's good to have, but I always like to have like a free lead magnet or a call to action to bring them to my website, right? So maybe if people are looking, because a lot of these social things or search engines too, right? So maybe just have some kind of like freebie. I've even at one point say, I don't hang out. I think once on my Twitter bio said, find me on LinkedIn or find me on Clubhouse, and then
Right.
bring them somewhere else. So That's probably the easiest advice. Claim yourself as much as you can.
Okay, that's awesome. Well, you've dropped so many golden nuggets here. I mean, if somebody wanted to find out more about what you do or connect with you, where's the best place to find you?
Great. Yeah. My website is michellgriffinmedia.com. So that you can find me there. I will be launching my podcast, Brand Your Brilliance, in about a month. And that's
Nice.
all about helping experts, consultants, people like that, coaches who have brilliance, who don't really know how to get it. It's going to be actionable and obtainable advice. So it'll be 30 minutes or less. You can come in and learn from these experts, right? That are helping you in this one specific area, get your message and get your brand out in the world. So I'm really excited to launch that. I think podcast is an important medium. And one of the things I tell my clients, like, you can become authority faster if you start putting yourself out there, podcasting, writing a Kindle book, starting to speak, go to Clubhouse things, just anywhere you can show up these days. Let's face it, there's no more gatekeepers, right? That's the beauty of this day and age. So that's where you can find me, and hopefully you'll find my podcast in another 6 weeks or so, and that'll be all good. So,
Yeah.
or reach out to me on LinkedIn too. I'm always on LinkedIn every single day. So I'm a 𝗕𝗂𝗶𝗲 Griffin there, by the way.
No, of course, you can't get all the handles. I suppose I have the same issue. I've got like 10 million people with with the same name. But on that note, Michelle Griffin, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to be here. I appreciate all your time too.